All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about the recent update with Terence Crawford and Errol Spence and how it is looking as if Terence Crawford's former words are coming true, and that ain't good news. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we are going to be in the 147-pound division and talk about the recent updates on the Errol Spence Jr. Terence Crawford fight out of the mouths of people in the Terence Crawford camp. And honestly, man, it's starting to look like, a lot of what Terence Crawford was saying before is actually coming to fruition. Hopefully not, but it looks like it is, man. But before I get into that, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, hey, thank you so much for checking the video out. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. If you are a longtime subscriber and supporter to the channel, thank you for continually chopping up about this boxing. You got to be a real hardcore boxing fan to be continually talking about boxing the way that it's going right now, where, you have a bunch of very excellent boxers out there in the world, and none of them are fighting each other, right? And it's getting to the point where, like, even me, because I'm a trust me, I am a diehard boxing fan. Only real sport I deal with and talk about on a regular basis is boxing. I will do fantasy conversations from now till the cows come home, right? All of that stuff, right? Who's the greatest of all time? Could Ali beat Mike Tyson? All of those type of conversations that that are just completely hypothetical, like pound for pound conversations, right? Things that we can talk about for days and days. I am really that type of guy. But even I am sitting around looking in the boxing world and looking at all of the fights that can be made and thinking, every time there is a fight that I want to see that is a bet that could be the best fight in a particular division or something that could really get boxing fans exciting, for one reason or another, it doesn't look like the fight is even possible to make. It's like almost the better the fight, the less likely the fight is to be made. And if this Errol Spence Jr. versus Terence Crawford fight does not come to fruition, this will be the prime example of just that, where according to Bob Arum, who just recently said he doesn't believe that fight is going to get made because of the amount of money each fighter would want to make. If you listen to what, the way that he broke that down and analyzed the way that he broke it down, it's almost saying that any time that you get a big mega fight, that right now boxing is in such a position that fight can't be made because there won't be enough people to pay for and support that fight, which basically says that we're going to be watching a sport with a bunch of top level guys fighting second level guys over and over again, different areas of it. And then maybe every once in a while, we'll get lucky enough to get a major fight, right? Very frustrating point of view if you listen to what he said and the result of that. However, if you listen to what's going on, what Bernie the Boxer said, about Terence Crawford, and Terence Crawford, at this late stage saying, why can't Terence Crawford get 50-50, right? For this fight. Just the fact that he says 50-50 to me brings my mind back to all of the other things that Terence Crawford has said in the lead up to this fight that had made it look the entire time like he really could take or leave this fight. And that's what he said. He literally has said that before, like, this is a fight that he wants. It's a good time for the fight, right? But he said, look, if this fight doesn't happen, it's not going to make or break my career. I'm already in the Hall of Fame. There's other things that I can do. And one of the hallmark things, or the most, notable things that he said was that if he doesn't get 50-50, he's like, it's going to be 50-50 or there's not going to be any fight. At one point in time, he said there may not even be a fight if it is 50-50. And so them bringing this up late stage just kind of makes me wonder whether or not he's still of that mentality where he's really looking more forward to the plan B that he said he had, right? Which is that he's going to move up to 154 pounds and he can force the fight with Jermell Charlo as the WBO super champ. And then so he can be undisputed at 140 and 154. So, and that's one of the things that I've always kind of set out there for me, is that if you listen to Errol Spence Jr., Errol Spence Jr. really doesn't have a plan B as far as what he's trying to do. Like, he said he will bend or he won't break, as far as making the fight. But if you listen to what he said he's going to do if the fight doesn't take place, he says he wants to go to 154, but he doesn't have any particular plan at 154 pounds. And in fact, the moving up to 154 pounds for him creates a problem, because his trainer his trainer, Derek James, represents the guy that holds all the belts at 154 pounds in Jermell Charlo. And Jermell Charlo himself says that he doesn't want to fight Errol Spence Jr., that he doesn't have any intention on fighting Errol Spence Jr. because they're friends. Errol, for his part, said, look, man, if that's the only way I can get them belts, I'm going to do it. So, like, Errol's never sounded like he's had any issue with making that fight, but his trainer in his camp doesn't want to see the fight, and Jermell himself doesn't want the fight, right? So you don't ever really hear him talking about what he's going to do other than this fight with Terence Crawford. Right. Other than saying the only holdup for him is that, he's not going to basically, give up the whole ship to make the fight, because that's what Terence Crawford is positioning himself with. I just happen to sit back and think, and a lot of people in the comment section have been saying this for a very, very long time. Shout out to Fahim Sator, that, Terence Crawford has never really been fully on board with this fight with Errol Spence Jr. When he first originally came to the weight class, it was Keith Thurman that he wanted to fight, not Errol Spence Jr., right? It took a long time before people could actually get Terence Crawford to say Errol Spence Jr.'s name, in the ring. But man, I'm just hoping that what this man has been saying, and you can see it chronicled by a lot of different channels, and we've been talking about it for several years now. I'm just hoping that in the back of his mind, that's really not what he's thinking. Like, look, man, if I don't get every single solitary thing that I want out of this fight and out of this negotiation, if the fight doesn't happen, hey man, it doesn't happen. Maybe it can happen next year. Maybe I go to 154 and I fight Jermell. I'm really not that pressed. Now, and it could definitely be that situation if it's a situation where he really doesn't feel happy with the money, right? I do not believe that Terence Crawford thinks that he needs that fight for legacy, because he said he doesn't need the fight for legacy. He said it's a good fight for him in his career, but he's already achieved being undisputed. So being undisputed for him isn't anything new, and he's got another option for undisputed at 154 pounds. And that really is a legitimate option for him, because he's the WBO super champ. And when the WBO super champ moves up in weight, he can immediately call for the fight with the guy that holds the WBO belt. And in this case, it's the guy that just happens to be undisputed. And also, if Jermell Charlo does fight Tim Tszyu first, the undisputed will still be with the guy that holds the WBO belt in Tim Tszyu, which in either one of those fights may be an easier fight for Terence than Errol. But, anyway, man, I'm just talking about it because it's a little bit, it's just a frustrating situation that we find ourselves in boxing. This was the case with the Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua fight. You've got the Canelo Alvarez. You got Canelo Alvarez playing prima donna with the Jermell Charlo fight. You have fights like what I think is one of the best fights in boxing, Errol Spence Jr. and Jermell Charlo not being able to happen for the reasons that I discussed earlier. It's just like, we're going to be forever like where real boxing is going to be like a pound for pound conversation, right? Even like the Ryan Garcia Gervonta Davis fight, or the Gervonta Davis versus Devin Haney fight falls into the same category. But kind of frustrating, but we'll see our way through, man, as boxing fans. Anyway, you let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.